already won billions making plays on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
This is the Verizon Extra Innings Show. Verizon, the most reliable 5G in St. Louis.
Cardinal fans are standing here backing Riley O'Brien. The pitch, a swing, ground ball to third. Arenado scoops him with the backhand and throws him out. That's a Redbird winner and light up the night in downtown St. Louis. The Cardinals have evened up the series at a game apiece, and they've won the season series over Cincinnati by taking 7 of the first 12 games.
Good win tonight for the Cardinals. They defeat Cincinnati 3-0. They clinched the season series, and now they have an opportunity to win this series if they can come up with the victory tomorrow. 3-0 the final score. This is the Extra Innings Show right here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley. If you'd like to join us, you've got an opportunity to do so by calling or texting 314-436-7900. 314-436-7900. That's how you call or text. You can tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. And for those of you who are starting to jump in on the video stream, you can leave a comment in the chat, and we will address those as we go along through the show coming up this evening. Heck of a win, and offensively they do enough. 3 runs, 8 hits. They kind of manufacture a run there in the first inning with a couple hits and a sacrifice fly. Good to see Thomas Saggese hit a home run there in the third. He's getting everyday run right now at shortstop. He goes 2 for 4. It's just his second home run of the season. It had been a while since he hit one, but it all starts with the pitching today. And Michael McGreevy was absolutely fantastic. 7 innings, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, and 3 walks. And those strikeouts kind of came late for him. He wasn't striking a lot of guys out early on in his outing, but as the game went along, he was striking more folks out. So that was good to see. JoJo Romero had a good day. Riley O'Brien had a good day. This is just a good win, a good, clean win for the team today. Again, 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call or text. Teresa already getting in on the text line, says, great win. JoJo and Riley, awesome innings. What a different, excellent pitching makes. Proud of everyone. Yeah, definitely excellent pitching does make a very large difference. She also had on happy for Saggese. Yeah, I like I'm happy for Saggese as well. And I think I've talked a lot lately about what's the value that you're going to get in these final couple weeks of the season. Something that I haven't mentioned that I probably should mention is just Saggese getting the everyday run at shortstop. Now, that's not a long-term thing for the Cardinals because they have Mason Wynn, but him getting that opportunity to be an everyday shortstop for a big league club for 2 weeks, that is something that there is a little bit of value. And in fact, a text message from Tommy says, Thomas Saggese has turned out to be a good ball player. All of our rookies have done well. Some have done better than others. Saggese has done, I think he's put together a pretty solid season. I was actually talking to Kyle Sixta, our booth assistant and clubhouse reporter, about this. We will, you can, like, this is where you kind of like doctor stats, and that's not what I like to do, but there's a 3-week period of time where Saggese just was not very good. And if you pull that out, and I know you don't get to do that. And sometimes, like when I talk about Nolan Gorman a lot, I talk about Nolan Gorman starting at June 1st, because that's when I think his swing kind of became what it is. There's a reason I've chosen June 1st for him. The Saggese thing, this is more about like picking out a stat. And it's so that I give that warning on this. This is me just looking at the stats and seeing what you can kind of pull out to make something look better. But there's like a 3-week period between June and July where he just wasn't very good. And if you take that 3-week period out, Saggese's basically a 300 hitter this year. He's done a nice job. So I like what we've seen from Saggese so far this year, and I'm glad he's getting this everyday run. I knew I was going to get this text. For those of you who were with me yesterday on the show, there was some criticism of the Cardinals on their decision to pull Matthew Liberatore when they did yesterday, which I thought was crazy talk. And I made that pretty clear on the show yesterday, and I took some criticism on that one. And because the baseball gods have a sense of humor, today Michael McGreevy was at the exact same number of pitches, 77 through 6 innings. So when I heard he was at 77 through 6, I audibly started laughing because I realized where it was at yesterday, and I knew I would get this message. And what do you know? Sitting here on the text message from the 314. I'm curious. You thought it was a good decision to take Libby out after 77 pitches, even though the bullpen was thin. So I'm curious. What do you think of letting McGreevy go 91? I like McGreevy going 91, and I'll listen for my answer for it, because it is, the two situations are not even close to comparable. Not even close. Other than the fact that the stats are the same, the context of everything is completely different. Liberator is a major league starter for a first time. He's got a season high, career high in innings, career high in starts. He's gone through a period where he's having a really hard time holding velocity. He's having some 4-inning starts. You're just trying to find a way to get him through the rest of the season and get him into the offseason healthy. Whereas Michael McGreevy has been a starter basically every year. He goes out and is given between 25 and 30 starts every single year. The first half of his season, when he was at AAA this year, he was not really being pushed that hard because they have the day off every week in the minor leagues. So essentially he was starting 1 game a week during his AAA time. And again, the most important thing is he is doing from a starts standpoint and from an innings pitch standpoint, he's not being pushed out of a comfort zone. It's happening at the big league level compared to the minor leagues. And there is a distinction and a difference there. I'm not trying to run away from that, but Liberator, who's kind of on fumes, who you don't know what you're going to get from him at any given start, who sometimes just oddly loses his velocity at 40 pitches or 60 pitches, taking him out and hadn't pitched 6 innings in basically 2 months. That it's not an apples and apples comparison to Michael McGreevy, who's just going through a season like he does every year. And by the way, if we're having this conversation about Liberator next year, it's going to be different because he's not going to be pushed next year the way he's being pushed this year. This is the push year for Liberator. This is the year where you take him completely out of the comfort zone, where bluntly you gamble a little bit, because there are statistics out there, and there's data out there. Data is the better word than statistics on this. There is data out there that shows when you take a pitcher and exceed their innings and exceed their starts and all this by a certain threshold, there is an exponentially increased chance of injury, Tommy John, things like that. So number one goal for the Cardinals with Liberator is to just get him through the year, get him a start every 5th day. Don't push him hard. If he's got a really good day like yesterday, that's great, but don't push him. McGreevy, you can push a little bit because he has done this before. All right, let's grab some of the comments that are coming in on the stream. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I hope that makes sense to everyone. I'm curious if there's pushback on what I just said, because to me, what I just said, there's a certain level of like common sense that goes along with it when saying that the two situations are not comparable. But I'm sure there's people who disagree with me. So feel free to text in, especially the person who texted in. If you don't buy my response, I'd be curious. I thought about this yesterday. So yesterday I took a little bit of criticism for the way that I respond to text messages. And the challenge, this is where I wish, like, for a lot of people who text in, I appreciate the text, but it's one-sided, right? Like, it's not a back and forth conversation. And that's where I can't, like, I don't get the opportunity to say something to the person, and then they can say something back to me and we can have a conversation. It's just me responding to a text. And that frustrates me sometimes, because some of these things I would like to be able to spend a little bit more being able to talk about. All right, let's get to those comments now that I was mentioning. We'll go with Sam. Says, what a great start by McGreevy. It's so good having Arenado back manning third base. I don't think Gorman makes that double play in the 3rd inning. That was a really good play. I'm not going to sit here and say Gorman doesn't make it, but that was a really good play, and Arenado is as good of a third baseman as has ever played the game. So that was fantastic, and certainly Arenado makes it more often than Gorman. I would say that. So I understand where you're coming from, Sam. I do. Message comes in from Henry, says that tonight's a massive win. McGreevy going 7, Arenado with another RBI, and a desperately needed win and a big boost for this team. If we can win the series tomorrow and get red hots and the Mets lose, the Cards are still alive. Mets did win today, which was a really, really big win for them. All right, we'll grab some phone calls that have started to come in. Tate has given us a call. Hey, Tate, you are on the Extra Innings Show.
Hi, Matt. I just want to say a couple things. It was a great win by the Cardinals tonight, but even though we're not making the postseason, it still was a great year, and I'm hoping the Cardinals make a run at the postseason for years and years to come down the road.
All right. Appreciate the phone call, Tate. Let's grab our next caller. Richard has given us a call. Hey, Richard, you're on the Extra Innings Show.
Yeah, I've called before. I've called and talked about Mike Shannon, 18's not being retired as a number because of the fact he's not in the Hall of Fame. Well, how about Mark McGwire? His number is 25. He's in the Hall of Fame. How come his number's Matt Pauley is not retired?
Mark McGwire's not in the Hall of Fame.
He's not?
No.
Well, that's news to me. Thank you. He should be, don't you think?
I don't know. Goodness.
Why ain't he in the Hall of Fame? Because of drugs or something, or what?
Yeah, the PED stuff. I'm torn on this. Like, generally, I think that the PED guys should be in the Hall of Fame. That's my general belief. I would put Bonds in. I would put I think I'd put McGwire in. There's some other guys in there, but I don't think it's a cut and dry conversation. There's nuance that goes along with it. But no, Mark McGwire's not in the Hall of Fame. He fell off the ballot relatively quickly. The voters,
how about Barry Bonds? He's not either, or what?
No, he's not in the Hall of Fame.
He's hit the most home runs in baseball, though, hasn't he?
He has the single season record. Richard, appreciate the phone call. Yeah, none of the PED guys are. That's where we're at with this thing. And I think the question is going to be, what do you do? I mean, yeah, Barry Bonds, 762 home runs, not in the Hall of Fame. Mark McGwire, 583 home runs, not in the Hall of Fame. Sammy Sosa, 609 home runs, not in the Hall of Fame. We're still in this murky area where I think a lot of the younger writers are more open to some of these guys going in, but for a number of these guys have completely fallen off the ballot. So it's going to come back to these eras committees where maybe they can reassess these individuals and whether or not they should go into the Hall of Fame. And while I think that the stance from the writers is changing a little bit as more of the younger writers are getting their, because you have to be in the Baseball Writers Association for a certain number of years by the time you get the opportunity to vote on the Hall of Fame. And while I think some of these younger writers are a little bit more open to some of these PED guys going in, well, the PED guys are falling off the ballot, the writers' ballot. They're coming back in these eras committee. And what we're learning from the eras committees are the individuals that are associated with that seem to kind of have the stance that the older writers have had on keeping guys out. So, I think it would be a really interesting conversation. And let's say Mark McGwire gets into the Hall of Fame via the eras committee at some point. Do the Cardinals come back around at that point and retire McGuire's number. You can make the argument for it. I don't know if they do. That's so. I don't know. I don't know if they do. I understand the emotional connection. Look, there's still a lot of people who want Willie McGee's number retired, and I get that. I completely understand that as well. It's a very nuanced conversation for sure, and the PED side of this thing makes it incredibly complicated. Not something that I was planning. I was kind of caught off guard by that. Not something that I was expecting to be talking about tonight after a really good win. Cardinals get the win against Cincinnati by a 3-0 score. We'll take a break. We've got more coming up in just a moment. Cardinals get the win against Cincinnati as we roll on in just a moment. Continuing on with the Extra Innings Show here on KMOX.
You know Gray Bar for electrical parts. But there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
At Sandberg Phoenix, we are more than just a law firm. Our attorneys are committed to you, your business, and your community. From startups to established businesses to estate plans, we are ready to serve you in the areas of business litigation, intellectual property, health law, and products liability. With offices in Missouri and Illinois, you can conveniently visit us today at sandbergphoenix.com. That's sandbergphoenix.com. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
There's a big red barn where you save green. Norm's Bargain Barn. On discount windows, doors, and things. Norm's Bargain Barn.
Hi, I'm Norm Wilkie. Come see my new selection of Amish cabinetry made by my good Amish friends at Countrywood Products. We now stock 5 styles of cabinetry for you to choose from.
When you need to save on discount windows, doors, and cabinetry, come to Norm's Bargain Barn. With locations in Shiloh and Fenton at the bottom of Gravois Bluffs. Visit normsbargainbarn.com.
That's normsbargainbarn.com.
You might know Gray Bar for cable and connectivity, but there's one more thing you should know us for that can help optimize your project's total value, like our comprehensive electronic solutions for security, AV, wireless, and networking, or our specialized job site services, like material staging and kitting, or maybe our logistics specialists who can help you identify efficiencies and ensure just-in-time delivery. So consider what one more thing you may need to optimize your bottom line and get to know us for that. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Now, back to the Verizon Extra Innings Show.
And there he goes. 3-2 pitch is hit hard to left field, and that is over the head of the left fielder and into the bullpen. A home run for Thomas Sajaci. His second hit of the game, and the Cardinals now lead 3-0 here in the third inning. He may never take that batting glove off.
Cardinals get the win tonight against Cincinnati by a 3-0 score. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Innings Show right here on KMOX. The Extra Innings Show is being presented by Gray Bar. Gray Bar is your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. If you want to get in here before the night is over, 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call in. That's a text in. You can also tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. And or you can leave a comment in the chat. We were talking earlier about the about whether or not we had a caller call in and say that there's a number of numbers that they would like to see retired, including Mark McGwire. And I threw out the idea, if eventually the Eras Committee ends up retiring McGuire's, would the Cardinals come back around and then retire number 25? Text message from 314 says that absolutely they would do that for McGwire. I don't think it's quite as cut and dry with everything. And the texter mentions Ted Simmons with the number 23, which was retired in 2021, that went along with it. So yeah, there's a track record that go along with that because when Simmons was able to get in, I don't know. I would like, as somebody who grew up in that period and just loved every minute of the home run chase, and really appreciate Mark McGwire for what he did for baseball and what he did for the Cardinals. Like I would celebrate McGwire's number being retired if it ever got retired for any reason. I think making any type of assumption that something for sure would happen if something else for sure would happen, I can't make that assumption. That's kind of where I'm going with this. And I understand why why somebody would think, that it would be an easy answer. Maybe I'm making it more complicated than I need to. I don't think it would be as easy of an answer as some people out there, but I could be wrong on that one. Mitch Thomas, JC, just heard his home run. He spoke to the media inside the Cardinals clubhouse not that long ago and opened up just talking about the pitch that he saw that resulted in his second home run of the year.
Not really. I mean, 2 strikes, trying to stay alive. So nothing particular. I think he threw me that 2 or 3 other times at bat, 2 other times. And I saw it pretty well. And, yeah.
Minors, you always put up lots of extra base hits, home runs, stuff like it, power stuff. Is that just a progression for it to come at this level?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. You'd think that that kind of thing would translate over, but it hasn't really yet, I feel like. But hopefully this starts something, which would be nice. I think it's just kind of the ebbs and flows of how the game works, and I don't really know. Hopefully.
Thomas, how would you describe just the first at bats you had tonight, right, where you foul off with 5 pitches in the first one, second one you take a couple close ones, and you foul off the changeup before homering on it? What do you kind of make of just kind of this, just being able to just kind of grind out those at bats and kind of show some of the strides that it seems like you're going to make?
I think it's obviously good to see, and it's nice to be able to do, and especially getting down to 2 strikes early, and then kind of just throughout the at-bat feeling it out and getting a lot of pitches to see, I think was helpful, and just putting a couple good swings on it and just kind of getting closer and closer to each foul ball. And I always feel like that helps me, and it ended up working out in the first at bat, and then felt comfortable going the second at bat because of that.
Zach, you've had a pretty consistent run of playing time, whether it's at second or shortstop, but in the everyday lineup, where do you feel like you've grown the most over in the second half?
I think I've just been a little bit better about kind of dealing with the successes and failures, and being able to kind of like go to the next day and like, I think I've been better at that this year than I have in past years. Not that I've been great at it, but I think I've grown a little more in that aspect and being able to move on. Not that it's perfect at all, but I think I'd like to say that's where I've grown a lot, and I think that's helpful.
Thomas, is there anything that you think has helped with that? Help you get to the point?
Just a lot of experience, I think, like getting more and more experience, and knowing that there's the next game and the next, like, got to be ready for the next play.
Thomas, you played defense behind McGreevy for a couple of years now. Is it impressive to see how under control he is at this level?
Definitely. I've always been impressed by that. I remember we were talking about it when he came down last year. He came for one day up here. He came down to Memphis last year. And he was like, yeah, I wasn't really nervous. And I was like, dude, I don't know how, but like that was crazy to me. I hadn't gotten a chance to be in the big leagues yet, but I was like, man, if I would ever just like, if and when I get that call, I'm gonna be really nervous. So yeah, and but he handles it really well and competes, and it's fun to play with.
That is Thomas Ajacey speaking after he hits his second home run of the year. Cardinals get the win tonight, 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can tweet at me, at Matt Pauley on air. Let's grab John, who's giving us a call. Hey, John, you're on the Extra Innings Show.
Hey, man, I appreciate you taking my call. I just thought about this tonight, and I didn't even get to listen to all the game, but just the thought about here we are playing the Reds. They're all in. They've, at the trade deadline, they kind of went out and tried to improve themselves. We're in the runway season, and I get that. I understand we don't want to let these kids get away till we know what we got. And here we are right there with them. I think it says more for the Mozeliak era and the group all together that we're still playing in this thing. We're not dead to the world like some have been. How about Pittsburgh? They're kind of tried to be more all in. They've been trying to rebuild forever. It just isn't all bad. And that's all I'm going to say. I'll get off here and listen to you address that. Thanks a lot,
John, I appreciate it. I'm with you. Like, have expectations been reached this year? No. Last year? No. I mean, you're not going to celebrate last year, the team just having a winning record. Not that you don't mention it. Like, I always push back when people say they were a losing team last year. No, they weren't a losing team, but they weren't a playoff team. They didn't do what you wanted them to do this year. Hopes were raised, especially with what they did in the month of May, and now they're not going to be in the postseason this year, barring something just flat out miraculous happening over the next week and a half, which seems quite unlikely. But they're not eliminated yet, to your point, and I think there is a brighter path forward for the Cardinals than there are for other teams. If you're the Reds, you did, like you mentioned, you made some. Now I appreciate the Reds trying to go on. I'm sure when they brought in Terry Francona, they committed to him that they would do what they would need to do to try to win at a higher level. But the Reds are likely not headed to the playoffs. They're in a better position than the Cardinals, so it wouldn't be quite as miraculous if they were to get in there. But it certainly does not look like they are a playoff team right now. So that's a disappointment for them that they went for it and they're not getting in. That's what happened to the Cardinals last year. The Cardinals were buyers last year at the deadline, and it didn't work out for them. Between Tommy Pham and Eric Fetty and just the moves that they were able to make, it ended up not working out for them last year. And it looks like that's sort of the situation that Cincinnati is going to be in this year. Let's finish this off with one more phone call. We've got another John who's giving us a call. Hey, John, you're on the Extra Innings Show.
Hi, Mark. I like the show a lot. I'll be quick.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame came up, and are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
As with anything, as numbers increase, things seem to get a little bit more watered down. When we were younger, a Hall of Famer kind of stood out. It seemed like it was kind of a clean cut. But now with the game changes constantly. Nowadays, it seems like we're still 3 to 5 years, the last 3 or 5 years, we're still trying to figure out what a Hall of Famer's numbers should look like and stuff like that. As far as batting average, when we were young, there was 50, 60 guys at 300. And now this year, I think there was like 5 a month ago. And so what's it going to take for a guy to get in there? I know it's his overall game, but I just, I don't want to see a Hall of Fame get any more watered down than it already is. It just, yeah.
Yeah, John, I appreciate it. I take a little bit of a different stance because I think I understand not wanting to water down the Hall of Fame, and there's certainly a line that I would not cross when it comes to the Hall of Fame, but I feel like sometimes I see names on there that don't get in, and I feel like they're Hall of Famers, and I want to celebrate the game, and I want to celebrate accomplishments. So I get stuck kind of in between because occasionally does somebody get in that you go, really? More often than not, I think guys don't get in that you say, you know what? That guy was pretty good. That guy was pretty good in his day. And the problem with it is you can't compare stats from, one era to the next. Every era is a little bit different. Some of these stats that have kind of, adjusted for what was going on at any given moment can be a little bit more helpful, but it's a really challenging conversation. And I'm glad I'm not part of the conversation, but at the same time, sometimes I am critical about the people who are part of that conversation, for sure. Brian, by the way, sent in a message and said Rollins number 27 isn't retired. That's true. It's still, I don't know if there's any plans on that for him. It's still kind of relatively early in that. I guess they could still do something going back to the whole McGuire conversation early on. It's a conversation with a lot of nuance, and bluntly, we don't have a whole lot of time for it right now, but we'll find some time for it probably on Sports Open Line. It's always a good offseason conversation about the Hall of Fame. What's on Deck, presented by Chesterfield Fence and Deck. The sign you have the very best. These two teams wrap up the series tomorrow. 12:15 first pitch, 11:20 pregame. Andre Palante is going to be on the mound. Appreciate you being tuned in to the program tonight, and we'll talk to you tomorrow for more Cardinals baseball right here on KMOX.
The following program has been